Yeah, I'm gonna have to defeat that. That's right everybody, today I finally decided to try out the vastly popular ARK Modpack, Kaiju ARK. This insane modpack adds countless incredibly tough kaijus that you can either kill or tame for yourself. Some of those kaijus include Godzilla, Kiryu, the Behemoth and Typhoon, amongst many others. So, can I, a person with literally zero kaiju experience, take down this mod's 3 incredibly difficult main bosses, those being the Plague Titan, Kaiten, the White Death, and Gaia, the Mother of Titans? Well, there's realistically only one way to find out. And with that being said, sit back, relax, grab some snacks, grab some water, because this video is gonna be a long one. My adventure started on the sunny Valguero, as it was a decently big map and could house all the different kaijus that the game had in stock for me. Unfortunately, I had to skip past the very early stages of the game, as there were way too many crashes. Interesting. Now it crashed again. There's the crash. Okay. Okay, it crashed. Okay. I'm gonna downgrade my drivers. Okay. Let's see if it... I hope it... I mean, it shouldn't crash now, because I just... come on, man. My little adventure began as I was slowly but surely making my way towards the place where I wanted to set up camp. Why, you ask? Well, because that's the moment in which I met my first ever kaiju. What the fuck is that? That doesn't look too good. I had no idea what it was capable of doing, but judging by its size, probably not very good things. So, since I didn't want to die this early, I decided to look for a way in which I could avoid the deadly kaijus, and in the meantime made sure to kill a sheep for some precious mutton. As I was harvesting the poor sheep, however, I got assaulted by a raptor, which almost resulted in me dying. And this was almost as I escaped and beat his sneaky ass. Having taken care of that, I finally found a way to climb up to my desired base location, so I wasted no time and placed out the foundation to what will be my permanent base location. And now that I had the base built, it was time to finally unravel the way that I was going to tame all the crazy kaijus in this video, that is, by using a mod called Tranks Plus. This mod has the ability to compress narcotics, which will come in crazy clutch for managing the titanic torpor bars of later kaijus. After that I made the Schmitty, as well as a bed in the unfortunate case that I, well, die. And with progress coming along nicely, it was only fitting that I use my newly acquired metal pickaxe to obtain a bunch of metal from the local river rocks. With metal smelting peacefully in the forges, it was about time for me to set out and find some friends. So I used pretty much all of my narcotics to make times 10 tanks, as well as a crossbow, and immediately left the confinement of my base to look for friends. While I was looking for friends, I also had to use my crazy parkour skills to navigate the treacherous Valguero terrain, as well as dodge the very unfriendly looking scorpions yet again. But despite all my efforts of laying low and being peaceful, I still ended up getting brutally executed by a lone Deinonychus. Go and zoom it. Only OGs remember this spot. If you remember it, you're an OG. Holy fuck, that scared me. I thought I crashed. I was like, what the fuck, man? My attempts at getting my stuff back went, well, exactly as you'd expect. Eat a parasaur, dude! Eat a parasaur, bro! Okay, just kill me, dude. So, back to square one, I suppose. This time, instead of going far away from my base, I decided to take a look around it to see if there was anything worth to tame. And sure enough, there was a lone parasaur right in front of my base that I quickly put to sleep. Once tamed, I made sure to use him to the max to farm a lot of narco berries because my dumbass took all the tranks with me when I died. Fortunately, the parasaur was decent at farming berries, so I managed to regain my lost wealth relatively quickly. While the narcotics were crafting, I made sure to not sit idle and instead farm a bunch of local rocks for, well, stone, obviously. Which I then used to expand my base. After that, I invested in the legendary flag set as well as a few times 50 tranks because I considered that it was finally time to head out to the center of the map and look for things to tame. Right after arriving, I abandoned my poor parasaur as he was way too slow for my liking. And besides getting chased around by raptors, the center of the map was actually quite interesting to say the least. Okay, we got Rockwell here as well. Any sounds are... Wild male beast. Okay, no. Okay, something made a very stumpy sound. Very oh fuck. Unfortunately, instead of finding things to tame, I settled for some crystal, a resource that will come in handy by allowing me to make a super spyglass, so that I actually gain the ability to judge if I can beat the kaiju I'm looking at, or he beats me. In order to escape the dreadful forest, I made a parachute, and on the way back home, I got massively flabbergasted by all the kaijus that existed in this mod pack. What the fuck is that? And what the fuck is that? And what the fuck is this? And what the fuck is happening? Wait, is that fucking Zeke from Attack on Titan, dude? Yeah, he seems to explode. I don't want to mess with him. Please let me go this way. Once I arrived back at camp, I immediately invested in a spyglass from earlier, as well as more tanks. And after crafting those, I paid the forest from earlier yet another visit. If you haven't guessed yet, I'm really looking for something to tame. During my visit, I managed to find kaiju such as the I have no clue how to pronounce this, which is actually a neutral kaiju and quite easy to tame because it's passive. But more on passive taming later. After not finding anything for pretty much the entire day, I decided to head back home, and on the way I ran into 2 scorpions. And since I didn't want to leave empty-handed, like usual, I did exactly what you think I did. The main problem with the scorpion is that he has a huge amount of damage reduction, and that coupled with mate boost just led to absolute disaster. As I was shooting the scorpions though, my brain also activated, and as such I realized that maybe I don't actually have enough arrows to kill any of them, and after realizing this I made left them be and returned back to base, as my next goal was to try and tame some local dinos such as Rexes or Alzauruses, so that I had an actual way to kill scorpions and make some significant progress. And as I was minding my business, waiting for the Rex to tame, this Allosaurus thought he was the shit and attacked me out of nowhere. And as I had a few tanks left, well, I guess we're taming 2 things now. In order to better prepare for the higher tier saddles that cost metal, I trained this local Anki and in the meantime collected just enough metal for an Allosaurus saddle from the local river. Well, in terms of damage, he was alright to say the least. Far from what I'll be dealing by the end of the video, but definitely a welcome upgrade. While testing out new acquisition, the Anki finally tamed, so I settled it up and harvested local rocks for flint, stone and obviously metal. Having taken care of that, I crafted a few more times 50 tranks and then set out to look for more things to tame, making sure to bring my Allosaurus with me for protection. Unfortunately, after exploring for a whole day and finding nothing, I ended up next to one of the scorpions from earlier. And since I found nothing, I didn't really want to leave empty-handed, and as such tried fighting it with my Allosaurus. This of course ended just the way that you expected. With my Allosaurus dead, unfortunately, I was essentially back to square one, and defeated, returned home. On the way home though, I found a lone scorpion stuck in between some debris. Defeating pretty much any kaiju awards you with precious element as well as dead kaiju cells, which you can then upgrade by using element to higher tier cells which are used within the various kaijus this modpack adds. But since the cells spoil, I wanted to try my best to persevere them for as long as possible, and to do that, I was going to need a fabricator. While the last bit of metal was melting, I wanted to see just how passive taming the giant fire scorpion would be, and well... I need to be at least what? It's 100! Oh my god, dude. Now thankfully, default ones didn't have any level requirement attached to them, but I was going to need a lot more patience to tame one. Oh yeah, and a really stupid thing that I noticed, using better tier kaiju cells has literally 0 impact on taming percent, even though it's like infinitely more expensive. But hey, I'm a YouTuber, not a mod maker. With mental scorpion shenanigans out the way, I got the fridge crafted and also tried getting level 74 for the Rex saddle. But that proved to be a little bit harder than expected, as crafting 5 foundations barely gave me any XP. So because of that, and maybe because I was out of patience, I parachuted the local beach in hopes of finding a pteranodon and sailing to the skies. While out flying, I was mainly looking for Rexes as they could come in handy with killing more scorpions and as a result get more kaiju cells, element and then progress through the mod. After tracking a few Rexes, I was left with just one Trank Arrow, and instead of making good choices, I went out looking for an Argent Heavy so I could farm way more metal in the future. While looking for the Feathered Friend, a local drop blessed me with an Apprentice Longneck. Doesn't seem like a big deal right now, but this will definitely come in handy later when I inevitably swap over to Trank Darts. And bam. Easy. As I was returning home with my new friends, I made sure to stop by the hardworking beavers to rob them of any precious resources that they might have. And once I arrived back home, I made sure to also breed Rexes up so that I'd have backups in case things go south. Then, since I need more metal for air conditioners and other stuff, I crafted an Argent Heavy saddle, and by using my Pteranodon, I made my way to the local mountain. Up on said mountain, I ran into a very beautiful but evil looking Sassoris. I have no clue how to pronounce this. Either way, my goal on the mountain was to collect as much metal as possible, and by using my Anki in combination with the RG and the Sulfur mod, by the way all mods are in the description, I harvested all the metal that I could. $1,700 metal should be way more than enough for this in a long while, and with my newly acquired fortune, I comfortably made the air conditioners and used them to hatch some fresh Rex eggs. And in the short time that they were hatching, I quickly made my way to the beach to trank a Bronto, so that I had an even faster way of getting narcotics. Yeah, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, I think. And if getting 4 X's from 2 X wasn't enough, I was also just 1 foundation away from level 74. So I immediately crafted it, and with that out of the way, I could now also craft Rex saddles. So I made a few of those, and by using the gang I previously tamed, I set out to kill as many scorpions as I could for big profit. Or at least that was the plan, as I idiotically arced the tough fire scorpion and, well, lost both my Rexes. But their death shall not be in vain, as they provided me with a plentiful supply of that kaiju cells that I could then use to tame the scorpions. More specifically, another one stuck in between debris in front of my base. Little did I know at the time though, but passive taming in this mod is so unbelievably painful that you can literally beat Minecraft 3 times before you can feed the scorpion once.
Still don't have a PS5, then you're gonna wanna hear this.
What the fuck? It took so long to feed him once, in fact, that I even had time to grab the Bronto saddle, saddle him up, use him to farm berries, grab some spoiled meat, turn everything into narcotics, and even after all of that, the scorpion still refused to eat. Well, since the scorpion was hopefully not going anywhere, I took this as an invitation to explore some more and maybe we actually find a kaiju that's faster to tame. However, since ARK is ARK, it loves to make fun of me and instead presented me with a Goliath, another passive tame kaiju. Besides the funny passive tame kaiju, I also ran across a bunch of corrupted-like creatures, except they weren't corrupted but rather plagued. And they had an absolute titanic health bar, so I definitely won't be messing them for a decent while starting now. During my travels, I also ended up at the goated Ice Wyvern Trench, and so despite the trend on, you already know why I was here and what I was planning to do. The game was also playing cards in my favor, as there was a literal 180 egg spawn below me. During my escape, I also ran into a literal mini-boss that I was going to have to defeat, that being Gaia's basic form. But despite being only a shadow of its actual self, there was no doubt that it could one-shot me. So I quickly turned the other way and made sure to thank her for grabbing all the Wyvern's attention. On the way back to base, I found a titanic being named the Gigamoth. You see, the Gigamoth is a KO tame and was dead kaiju cells, which means that I can literally tame him and return home as stacked as ever. So I cluelessly tried grabbing their attention, but it turns out that they aren't very good swimmers. They sink. Kinda stupid. Thankfully, a little bit higher up ahead, I found another one that was even higher level than the previous ones. So I poked him and led him into a place where I could easily trank him. After tranking out the Gigamoth, you'd think that the next step would be to put food in him and wait. Well, that's what I wanted it to be, but the game had other plans. Yeah, it does. Why? What the fuck? What? What the fuck is this game? If you didn't quite understand what happened, neither did I. But it turns out that the Gigamoth had some sort of aura around him that prevented me from getting close. I can't even get close to him to tame him. Now, since I didn't come this far just to give up, I tried brute forcing my way into feeding him by crafting beds and dying as many times as needed. Oi. Dude, why? What the fuck is this game design? What am I missing? What the fuck? Not to mention that he also managed to get my Trenodon, and that means that there's no way I'm fucking living. Let me grab it, dude, I don't wanna get fucking. But after dying many times, I thought, why don't I just relog? So I did that, and by pure fucking magic, the Gigamoth got rid of its aura. Oh, I'm not dying anymore. I was still obviously very afraid and wasn't 100% certain that he wouldn't kill me, but relogging seems to have fixed his anger issues, and as a result, I managed to tame the big dude. Hey yo, we got the Gigamoth, you piece of shit, you better be strong. I can walk. Oh my god, he's so good. Yeah, and dismounting him is also very painful for your fragile little legs, so getting the tech boots will definitely become a necessary tool later on. But now that I had an actual kaiju in my possession, I swiftly made my way back to camp. Once arrived, I decided that it was time to finally tame the scorpion, and it took me so long to actually tame him that the wyvern I had previously put to hatch literally grew up to juvenile stage. But since I was home, I also decided to imprint him and then go back to the scorpion. Please, dude, please. Estoy loco. Yes. No, what do you? And after at least 30 minutes of just waiting around to feed this guy, I could finally call him my own. So, filled with excitement, crafted a saddle for it, which is actually lore accurate as it's made out of rock golems. Really cool. But now, after an incredibly painful taming process, it was finally time to see what the scorpion could do. And right off the bat, his damage was pretty dang good. Not only that, but he could also farm a shit ton amount of metal, wood, thatch and stone. Oh, he can farm rocks! Whoa. And if that also wasn't enough, he also has the artillery trail attack, which deals some batshit crazy damage, especially for my train stage. My new friend was so strong in fact that he could, well, not easily, but certainly take out way stronger kaijus. And after noticing how incredibly busted modern dinos were, wow, big surprise, I wanted to urgently upgrade my narcotic production, and what better way to do that than to craft a chemistry bench. Well, at least that's the plan. While looking for tech creatures to defeat, I got way too cocky and tried fighting 3 scorpions at once, and that coupled with my already inexistent health bar almost led to me dying. But I guess this is a good time to introduce yet another useful mod that I'll be using in this video, the RR Potion Schmitty. This mod actually, allows me to craft many different potions, with the most useful ones being the health ones, because as you've seen, kaijus have a tremendously huge health pool, and healing that much health with only meat would take hours. However, since the potions were just a little bit too expensive for me right now, I healed up my scorpion the old-fashioned way, and once he reached a decent health pool, I used him to gather the rest of the electronics. And a bunch of metal, because he's good at that. Oh my god, I have so much metal. Okay, dude. Now that I had a bunch of metal in my possession, it was only fair that the next goal would be to make an industrial forge. But in order to do that, I had to gather a tiny bit of extra materials. But I was in level 80... Yeah, okay. Okay, well yeah, now I can make an industrial forge. Before heading out to such a journey, I waited for my brand new fighter jet to grow, and the second he did, I took him for a ride. This time, instead of exploring the boring forest, I was going to go to the big boy zone, more specifically, the Redwood. The Redwoods were filled to the brim with kaijus of all sorts, the first one that I found being Valst, a category 3 kaiju and coincidentally, the next tier of kaiju that I have to tame. What the fuck is this? It's doing things, I don't like it. Another one. 90. Still, I didn't hop to conclusions and kept exploring some more, making sure to also kill some things that I ran into, such as this rogue Jaeger that dropped me its taming method. What the name says, yeah, okay. Jaeger core, how did I get that? And besides robots and crazy thunder creatures, there was also my dear friend the Fenrir here, stronger than ever and capable of summoning an army of wolves to aid him in defeating any threat that stands in his way, which is me. After being completely distracted by kaijus, I remembered my actual reason of going to the Redwood, that being to collect some chitin, so I killed a local scorpion and returned home to craft my chemistry bench. Now, with way better narcotic factory in place, it was only fitting to craft some 200 times strengths. Also, upon looking at my element reserve, I noticed that I was fairly close to having enough to train Valst from earlier, so... Unfortunately, after farming for an entire day, I only managed to get a measly 8 element. Still, it was sufficient for Vals, so I grabbed it and made my way back to him. And also encountered some new kaijus on the way, such as the Griffin Horus, which needed 8 cells to tame, and I could only make 6. But since it took me a day to make 2 cells, I decided that I should just tame Vals before anything. And thanks to using the 200 times thanks, well, Vals was out cold in no time, and all that was left for me to do was give him his desired cells and wait. A really long time. So long in fact, I literally went over to the other side of the map to look for more wyvern eggs. And spoiler alert, I found another 180 egg which I immediately threw down to hatch, and I returned back to Redwood to kill shielded midgets. Yeah, there are some really weird kaijus in this mod pack. While fighting him, I also noticed that Vals finally decided to eat. Ah, he does eat. When he loses 1,000 food. That's 20 times more than a normal dino needs to lose, which I found incredibly absurd, so I thought, what if the ARK potion mod actually has something to make dinos eat faster? And well, surprise surprise, it actually does have such a potion. Back at base, I quickly gathered the missing ingredients, and after making the potion, I went over to give it to my brand new kaiju. After he awakened from his slumber, I immediately put him into a cryopod and hastily returned home as I could not wait to test out his abilities. But of course, before testing out abilities, I had to make a dust report, like, come on now. With that done, I threw out the new acquisition and, okay, I'm just gonna get this out of the way now. He is pretty buggy sometimes and does some sort of spawn animation that makes him invincible forever, and I have no idea why, but alas, here are his abilities. Right off the bat, he has the raw golem kit as well as a stupidly crazy ground slam that deals damage based on drag weight, so small things will take significantly more damage. And he also has way more stronger attacks that I know how to use at the time, such as a rock throw that deals unbelievable amounts of damage, but either way he was strong enough to eat scorpions for breakfast, so I made sure to use him to gather a bunch of element as well as clear out the local population of plague creatures. Now, plagued creatures are gonna come in very handy in the future as they drop element shards, and emphasis on future by the way, as I will actually the replicator to convert that into usable element. And afterwards I went around exploring the map and terrorized pretty much all creatures that I ran across, with the main goal of looking for either stronger things to tame or to get more element. While doing so, I ran into a kaiju bug. Yeah, well, he has the ability to summon many more bugs for protection, and those bugs can be harvested for a crazy amount of chitin. So, thank you, kaiju bug. Pretty sure I won't have to farm chitin ever again. As night fell, I also tried fighting Zeke from Attack on Titan, but he was so tanky that the fight lasted all the way until midnight, and I also got my ass beat. So I decided that the smart thing to do would be to fuck off before I actually lose my hard-earned kaiju. Back home, I tried using the plague essence that I acquired to cure up my Bronto, but that didn't work. And I don't even know if it's supposed to work like that, but yeah. After that, Vals was pretty much full HP again, and I'm not even kidding as he has some crazy passive healing, but because of this I decided that it was time to defeat Zeke and see what he drops. Nothing. He drops nothing. I will need his lore to summon the final boss, but as of right now, it serves me no purpose. Continuing my streak of bad decisions, I also tried fighting a category 4 kaiju in hopes of getting a lot of element from him. Well, it didn't end that well. Thankfully the Goliath is passive, just like the Scorpion, so he spared my kaiju after I died, which is absolutely fantastic, as losing this guy would have set me back a few generous hours. After having my stuff back, I continued wandering around and found that letting Vals do his thing actually makes him way stronger, because this way he uses his whole arsenal. As night fell, I also heard very interesting noises that I had no idea where they were coming from. However, it didn't take too long to actually find a possible candidate for those sounds. What in the fuck is that? Ladies and gentlemen, lo and behold, Wutlong, the Apocalyptic Dragon. A tameable category 5 kaiju. However, I have no clue how to deal 10 billion torpor. Afterwards, I spent a very long time exploring the map, which is a very repetitive task I did in this video, like at least 50% of my playtime was spent doing this, and it was also usually not worth the time, but when it was, I did find some pretty cool things. Oh, this guy, what the f are you? This is Ragnar, a very strong kaiju that despite being low level, managed to make a huge dent in my kaiju, which means that if I ever find a high level one, I'm gonna have to tame him. After Ragnar, I also found the Manticore that seemed pretty strong. I mean, he could literally clone himself, so there has to be something going on there, right? Still, those are problems that future me will have to deal with, as right now I made a groundbreaking discovery. Besides health potions and dino tame potions, I could also make speed potions, going from 125 all the way to 250 speed, and since the challenge will involve a lot of traveling, you best believe I crafted such a speed potion. Once arrived in the snow, I ran into a beautiful level 140 giga. Now, okay, I know I'm playing modded, but since a giga is a giga, you betcha I tamed it. Also, surprise surprise, he's actually really strong. Now, pretty much the strongest vanilla dino in my possession, as well as a decently strong kaiju, there was nothing stopping me from terrorizing the redwoods and farming a significant amount of element. What the f is this? Okay, maybe that guy, but I don't want to mess with him. This is also the moment where I realized that my guy has had literal nuclear bombs in his back pocket and never used them. Holy sh! This guy is destroying him. But besides that, the Giga also proved to be a very useful dino to have around, since he could harvest a lot more element than all my other kaijus could, which significantly sped up the gathering process. As I was heading home from my shenanigans, I stumbled across an owl beast. It looked very interesting, so guess what I did? I tamed it. And boy, do I wish I didn't. For starters, it's a griffin, it deals very shit damage, it doesn't even have the dive bomb, like hello, what's even the point then? You don't. What even is the point of a griffin if you don't have the fucking dive bomb? And his abilities are also that. Best part of it, it cost me 40 fucking element to tame.
Si deseas salir del modo ciego.
In honor of getting that new shotgun, I also made sure to craft a bunch of bullets for it, and then also went over to try the owl beast once again. I do think, however, that it doesn't even compare to Bust. After obliterating everything with Valve's nuclear bomb, I ended up back at the swamp where I tamed my first kaiju. There, I found a gigamoth that looked very similar to a strider, and upon killing him, not only did I get a decent amount of element, I also got my first ever Jaeger core. Yo! Further up into the map, I also found Burfold, just wandering around and got curious. You see, the Spyglass has to deal torpor when he's using the steam attack, but I thought that I'm supposed to hit him. I mean, why else would he have to... After everything my stuff back, I immediately took my wyvern and headed out as he was badly injured. Thankfully, there was a way for me to quickly heal him, and that is by using the potions that I mentioned earlier. So, we're back in business. Ooh! I want this guy. Before actually taming that high level Ragnar, I wanted to scout the whole map just in case I found something more interesting, and on the way I actually hit level 100, which means that I can finally see what I needed for the 3 final bosses. The first one was the Plague Titan, as is him the easiest to craft. Then Kaiten, and lastly Gaia, as it's literally labeled the final boss, but of course it's gonna be a long ass time before I end up fighting the 3. For now, I thoroughly explored the snow biome as I was looking for a certain dino. 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh! Well, that's a dragon. Well then, what's so cool about this dragon? First of all, it has the dive bomb ability of the griffin, which expensive kaijus don't apparently have. Second of all, it doesn't consume any stamina while flying, which is so good for a video in which I spend a long time traveling. And with my new dragon in my possession, I returned home, crashed the kaiju cells, and upon returning to Ragnora, I got greeted by this. Yeah, okay, kaiju first, worry about the gang fights later. After having my new MVP, I could have easily returned home, but instead of doing that, I started fighting the giant dragon's pets. And let's just say that fighting colorful things isn't ever a good decision. Not in real life, and definitely not in ARK. The way back was absurdly painful as I didn't have any more speed potions, and by the time I arrived, my dragon got turned into a pancake by the Colossus. And if that wasn't enough, he also began spawn camping my loot. Now thankfully I could just break the tree that was blocking him and then wait for him to skedaddle before grabbing my loot back, which actually worked wonders. But has my dragon died for nothing, or is the new arrival worth the investment? Well, yeah, mostly actually, as besides spawning me 7 stories in the sky... Where the f I spawn? What? which takes a solid minute to get down, it does deal some crazy damage and focuses a lot on applying status effects which absolutely decimate the target. With brand new sheriff in town, I decided that this was the moment where I was going to get the artifacts required for the bosses. So that's exactly what I set out to do. My idea was short-lived unfortunately, as upon entering the second cave I encountered a few problems. First of all, there was a literal nuclear war going on above ground, and the cave was also filled with toxic gas, like the swamp cave on the island. So I had to leave and come back later. Before leaving though, I made sure to get my revenge for my poor dragon. Only from Titania though, as there's no way I'm killing the Colossus. After getting my sweet revenge, I got bored again and decided that it was about time to get the rest of the tributes. And after a lengthy farming session, I managed to collect all the required tributes for the beta squad. But I was still lacking the artifacts. So to prepare, I made an industrial cooker to craft a bunch of medical brews so that I can tank the poison in the swamp cave. And by using my very broken shotgun, as well as destroying Valstein and telling him to nuke the entire room, the cave proved to be relatively easy. On the way out of the cave, I also noticed that my medical brews were running dangerously low, so in an attempt to survive, I crafted some sleeping bags and afterwards swiftly made my way back to the entrance. As you might have guessed, the bags came in crazy clutch, and after respawning a few times I managed to make it out alive and then returned home to deposit the artifacts. Now despite actually having all the artifacts in my possession, I was still heavily considering doing the bosses. You see, from my whole time spent playing Volgero, I've struggled like crazy to find actual kaiju, such as Godzilla, Leatherback and many others. And the funny playing Kaiju ARK comes from taming those and actually using them. So out of curiosity, I decided to try another map such as Ragnarok, and it didn't take any time for me at all to find a few of those strong kaijus. And because of this, I decided that the best course of action would be to grab everything and move on over to Ragnarok, in search of not only a better mod experience, but also the opportunity to make a more entertaining video. Plus I've been searching for kaijus for like 24 hours at this point. If you're confused over how uploading on Singleplayer is done, you basically gotta upload all things from your inventory into ARK data, which you unfortunately have a 50 slot limit, so you usually gotta take multiple trips. Then you wanna put your whole inventory somewhere safe, then you wanna upload your character, and then you leave the game. Then you go to the desired map, and then this menu should pop up. Once arrived on the new map, go to the nearest obelisk and take out all your things. That's it. Rinse and repeat until you move everything. The only problematic item is element, as it can be transferred directly, however you can just use a mod that adds cross travel element and you're golden. After downloading everything, I had a few potential base locations in mind. However, the first one was too small to fit any important kaijus inside and was also annoying to build in. Second spot couldn't even fit Valstein, which means it's a huge no-no, and on the way to the first spot I ran into Destroyer. Holy shit, yeah, okay, Valkyrie is definitely not a good map for kaiju. Okay, I'm not going close to that guy. A fearsome mini-boss that I will want to defeat by the end of the video. With that out of the way, I made my way to the first spot and decided that this should be my permanent base spot. It could fit a decent number of kaijus inside, was very spacious, had a lot of berries and was close to the dunes, which means higher chances to encounter awesome kaijus. With my base fully constructed in a new spot, it was time to see what Ragnarok had in store for me. But my dumbass forgot to take into consideration the fact that this map is very cold. So... At least the riffing did come in handy for something, I suppose, as it helped me grab my stuff faster, and once I had it back in my possession, it was time to actually explore Ragnarok. Well, spoiler alert, I still didn't find any cool kaijus, but thinking nothing of it, I made a basic kit to do the lava golem in hopes of getting a better long neck for when I actually find those kaijus. After getting pretty much nothing from the lava golem, I returned home, and since I gathered the tributes earlier, I thought that it would be smart to head on over to the island and beat the beta broodmother for the replicator as well as the tech boots engram. I did need 2 more artifacts for her, and while in the process of getting them, I literally encountered...
Nice, of course. Of course, on the island you find everything. Of course, dude, always. Now another one. What the actual fuck?
Anyways, after being done by collecting them, it was time to beat the broodmother. And usually this would be sort of like a highlight in the video, but this time it's not. And like halfway through the fight, I dealt so much damage to it that it just decided to disappear completely. And I also thought I was stuck, but thankfully the return timer appeared, and when I checked my engrams, hell to the fuck yeah. With that taken care of, I uploaded everything into the terminal and immediately went back to Ragnarok because it's finally time to make some huge progress.
Boy. Fuck off, man.
As it turns out, 100 element is a huge amount of element. Unfortunately, I only had 34 of that required 100, and as such, I set out to kill many things. As I was out looking for things to kill, the game probably decided I struggled enough on Velgero and decided to give me a bunch of tech gigamoths to kill for a huge amount of element. Hell yeah. Unfortunately, while farming, I also got too cocky and managed to actually die. Yeah. Thankfully I managed to respawn, return, grab my wyvern, take revenge, and also retrieve all my lost gear. From that whole ordeal, I managed to collect an impressive 150 element, which I then quickly turned into the replicator and kept the rest. Then, by using said replicator, I turned all my element shards into element, which refunded about half the replicator. Big profit, like some would say. Now that I had the replicator, I felt like an absolute boss. So, to celebrate it, I continued my eternal search for awesome kaijus. Instead of kaijus though, I found the phenomenal longneck. Oh ho 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 ho! Okay. To celebrate this find, I finally made some times 500 tranks, which will come in handy for tranking kaijus that I can't find, man. What the fuck are the kaijus, man? My search continued for yet another in-game day, which is about an hour in real life, and since I've done this so many times before, I decided it was about time I brought in some big guns. The big guns being Creature Finder Deluxe, a mod that allows you to find any dino spawned on the map to hopefully allow me to find and showcase the titanic kaijus. Till then, the mod helped me like crazy when it came to finding weaker kaijus to kill for element. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention, when kaiju cells spoil, they turn into element shards, so now that I had a replicator, it was actually a viable strategy to force spoil many at once. And now that I had a huge element supply, I decided to reinvest it into taming a level 150 Manticore. Well then, what does this bad boy do? Nothing. He does hit hard if you can hit all projectiles, but that's not gonna happen. And if that also wasn't enough, his regular attacks also deal laughable damage, so I guess that's yet another disappointment added to the list. So far, the only good kaiju was the first one I tamed. Later on in the day, as I was killing more kaijus, I noticed the impressive strength out of Fenrir, so I wanted to tame him, but to tame him, I needed more element. After obtaining a sizable amount of element, I invested some of it into a tech canteen so I don't die in the cold anymore and set out to tame an absolute beast off of Fenrir. And if this guy is not as good as advertised, then I'm cooked. Right off the bat, he has a white aura surrounding him that obstructs like 30% of your vision. In terms of damage, it's not that bad, but still worse than Vast, which is genuinely crazy. Like, this guy is so easy to tame. Whatever, man, I'm not good. Now that I had a Fenrir, I got way more confident in myself and even tried taking on Goliaths. Problem, these guys are crazy good when it comes to dealing damage, which means I might have to tame them next. But it's a passive thing, so does this mean I'm gonna have to spend the next hour of my life refarming a bunch of element for it, and then also like 2 hours just to feed it? No. As instead of delaying it any further and wasting even more of your time and my time, I decided to put my brain to work and learn how to use the simple spawners mod. You see, by using it you can essentially customize where and when you want certain creatures to spawn, and what this means is I can forcibly have the cool kaiju spawn on the map, so you can bet your ass I spent a few solid ass minutes just playing around with the mod, and with that being said, let's tame some actual kaijus. After making the much too necessary changes, it barely took any time for me to run into the real deal. The first of those kaijus being the Gojira.
What the f is this, dude? 10 billion torpor, what the f?
An incredibly strong King Titan looking kaiju that I actually don't know how to tame. But at least I knew the fix was working, so filled with excitement began farming a bunch of narcotics to better prepare for the insane amounts of torpor I was going to have to deal. And with that done, I explored the wasteland for a bit and surprise surprise, ran into Godzilla. Now, Godzilla spawned atomic fish meat to tame. Unfortunately, one atomic fish meat takes 100 element to craft, which means that as much as I'd love to have a Godzilla right now, that's gonna have to wait. Then, as I was running away from Godzilla, I found Leatherback, a kaiju that I absolutely love the design of. And if that wasn't enough, he also had a very modest taming requirement. And to top it all off, he doesn't need to lose 1,000 food to eat once, he only needs to lose 50, which literally goes to show how useless and trash all the kaijus I've tamed are, except the Scorpion, he's good for farming. So after about 35 hours of playtime, I finally had something to justify the playtime, man. Let's go!
I'm so f***ed, dude. Oh, this game is so last, dude.
Right off the bat, Leatherback was unbelievably strong and could dish out more damage than all my teams combined in one single hit. Also, it probably isn't very smart to test him out on Godzilla, which is why I decided to skedaddle and kill some things around the map while also having a literal blast in the meantime.
Button does. He dances. Oh my f***ing god, dude. How do I jump up? Ah, this one. Damage. Oh. Oh yeah, I have damage now, okay. Dude, that feels so strong, holy shit, man. Okay, this guy. No, I don't want to mess with this guy.
That, my dear viewer, is Shaimo, a very strong kaiju that I will 100% want to tame, as he can come in handy for the final 3 bosses. But then again, it'll be a decent long while before I end up taming such a beast. The only disadvantage to Leatherback is that dismounting him is very time consuming. Thankfully, that's what tech boots are for. But now you might be wondering, man, you literally tame on random ass kaiju and you're already dealing this damage? Like, surely the video must be over soon, right? Well, my dear viewer, you are absolutely wrong, as the final bosses are no joke. So, great preparation will be needed for them, plus I haven't even touched many of the legendary kaijus, such as Kiryu here.
You want 2 element to tame. And I should believe you.
Well, I may have lost my very expensive Manticore, but instead I got an absolute monster of a kaiju. And if you thought Leatherback was the shit, let me tell you, man, you are so unbelievably wrong. The first thing to be noted about this guy is that he has, in my opinion, a very addictive running animation and feel. It just puts into perspective the titan that you're actually controlling. In terms of attacks, he does have a very big arsenal, such as dealing damage by just landing.
Yo! Oh! What the f***, this mod is awesome, okay?
He also has a devastating tailspin attack, and to top it all off, a state-of-the-art built-in missile launcher that does exactly what you'd expect it to do. Now, what better way to test out this Dreadnought's damage dealing capability than to use him to defeat the legendary kaiju, Woodlong. Upon defeating this legendary kaiju, actually just watch the clip.
500 element, what the fuck? What?
Yeah, safe to say that thanks to Kiryu, my element problems are going to be problems anymore.
Ah, you dismount at the bottom, bro. This game is so good. Also, how do I transfer everything inside?
And with Kiryu in my possession, I was free to make significant progress in this challenge and slowly but surely make my way towards taming the legendary Gaidoro as well as beat the 3 kaiju gods. But until then, you know I had to go and have some fun with my new team. Like, come on now. As I was killing things left and right, I ran across Doug.
Yeah, I wanted to do 5.4 million.
Don't be deceived by its looks though, as this pancake of a kaiju has enough damage to face tank the strongest attacks in this mod pack, as well as enough damage to turn any kaiju into, well, another pancake. Killing Godzilla doesn't give me anything useful directly, but what he does give me is his fin. And by combining 15 of these together with some other materials, I can summon Gaidoro, another legendary kaiju that will be a key component in taking down the endgame bosses. On the way back home, I innocently hit a Gojairen, which actually brings me to the one and only annoying part of the mod, which is that kaijus can make noises from across the map. And not just any noise, like actual annoying noise. Afterwards, I took my Kiryu to the snow to kill the Shimo from earlier. You'll see why in just a moment. Killing him though didn't really go to plan. After returning, Kiryu made sure to finish the job, and as a result I managed to obtain a Shimo crystal. This little thing is the only thing that the Shimo eats to tame. It only needs one, which means that the next Shimo I find will be tameable. With the Shimo taken care of, it was time to do the bosses again for the rest of the tech armor, as the extra insulation could definitely come in handy, and also for flight. To prepare, I also tamed 2 dodos, which will come in handy in a certain cave, and on the way back I killed the Typhoon. Now logically it dropped Sututi's tentacles. A lot of them actually, which will save me a lot of trouble later in the video. Then I met some grapples and set out to the last artifacts, and on the way try fighting the Tech Gojairen. On the way to the cave I found a very big moth which I tried to kill. Anyways, I had to do both sides for all 4 artifacts, which will take a decent while. For me. For you it'll only be like a minute. Once finishing the dreadful labyrinth, I concluded that I only needed 1 artifact, which I'll get later, and the tributes, which I will get right now. After being done with the Spinosaurs, I found a normal Kaiten version spawn in the snow. Not very crucial information, but it does make a very annoying sound infinitely until you relog or you kill him. Oh, and I also found another Shimo doing Shimo things. But anyways, where was I? Alright, tributes. After being done with Tribute Collective for now, I stumbled across another Kairyu. So, of course I made some more tranks and tried putting that bad boy to sleep. 2 seconds after taming that Kiryu, I ran across a Reijin, a very interesting looking kaiju with a very cheap taming requirement. As I wanna test out all the cool kaijus that I ran into, I made his taming food and immediately returned to put him to sleep.
How? How do they have such a shitty ass hitbox, man? What the fuck?
After taming him, he was decent to say the least. Weaker than my Kiryu, of course, but not bad by any means.
What now? Ah. Yeah, okay.
Then I clear the whole desert of baddies. And once that was done, grab the rest of the tributes, namely the vertebrates and Megalania Toxin. On the way back to base, I finally found a decently high level Godzilla, so filled with excitement I put him to sleep, and with that out of the way, I had Godzilla in my possession. One of many actually, but is Kenny good? Hell yeah. He deals less damage than its metal counterpart, sure, but he has a way better hitbox. And he can also dance? Wait. What's this one? Is he dancing? Oh my god, he's dancing. In terms of jumping though, no jumping. But he can turn into a turtle and take 25% less damage, so not too bad actually. And if that was enough, he also has a crazy good roar that hits multiple times. But best of all, he can swim. With this newfound information, I immediately grabbed the last required artifact as well as the Basilosaurus blubber thanks to his very generous hitbox. And with that taken care of, it was time to get the rest of the tech. Boy! And if you didn't guess it now, the bosses were a joke. Less Dragon was as the Manticore managed to somehow deal enough torpor to put Godzilla to sleep.
Did he fall asleep? What the fuck is it? Oh, he did.
Godzilla aside, it was time to finally craft more tech. Unfortunately, this boss does give you the helmet, which is a shame, but flight is good enough for now. Then I also replaced my normal generator with the tech one and found out about the existence of a torpor regenerator. So I gave Godzilla one, and I'm actually gonna need way more than one. Okay. With Godzilla out cold, this was the perfect opportunity to tame a Shimo, so I put him to sleep, but when I went over to give him the crystal, let's just say he wasn't that hungry. Confused, I first used the crystal in his inventory, which basically deleted the crystal and didn't tame him. He also didn't want to eat regular meat, and since his torpor was draining very rapidly, I decided to just kill him in hopes of getting a refund on my crystal. No. Good attack, love it. Once returned, the Curious made quick work of the Shimo, so I grabbed my stuff back as well as the crystal that he dropped. Afterwards, I went around the desert killing things and taming more Curious. And after a quick little cleanup, I remembered about the little spawner things you unlock at level 97. Besides the Ghidorah spawner, which I will make later, I could make the Dogbone and the Kiryu Assembler. I also finally decided to weigh Godzilla, but Kiryu Assembler. What it does is it essentially spawns a random level tamed Kiryu. Pretty cool, but it's more worth it to find one than to actually use this item. In terms of the Dogbone though, watch this. Level... what? Okay, man. 140. This seems strong? It is strong. Damn. My turn. Unfortunately, because of his immense strength and health, I decided to put him away and only use him from time to time, and definitely not for the endgame bosses. With a small but strong army forming, I considered that it should be about time to tackle the bosses, the first of them being the Plague Titan. I had almost everything required for him, the only thing missing being a Plague Core. You see, these items are being dropped from strong Plague Dinos like Reapers or Gigas, so I went over to quickly grab one.
That's the thing I need down there, right there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, bam.
Craft the spawn for the big boss. After crafting the summon, I obviously settled for fighting him in the vast desert and by using my 5 warriors, hopefully come out victorious.
GG, he's out. Oh, element. Fuck, not element, the other thing.
Beating the Plague Titan also unlocked the tech helmet, which means that I will no longer have to worry about heat or cold anymore. After that, I grabbed another Plague Core because I actually want to refight the Titan in hopes of getting some more tech. Before spawning the boss, I want to increase my army firepower and in the meantime found a lonely level 15 dog in the desert. Now since the level 1000 dog was overpowered, I thought that maybe this one won't be as overpowered.
Oh my fucking god, no, he's strong, dude. He's so strong. Okay, wait. 100,000.
Okay. This guy's fucking strong, dude. And because of his strength, I thought that the most balanced thing to do would be to leave his melee as it is and instead put points into movement speed. Yeah, this is my genius solution. After solving the problem, I teamed another Godzilla and surprise surprise, Godzillas are breedable! Ah, they're mating, holy shit, we can breed Godzillas, that's fucking crazy, dude. Then I made a Play Titan spawner, hatched the new guy, then I imprinted him, and lastly, beat the Titan. Did we get more tech? Fucking hell, man, what the fuck is my tech, dude? I think he just has the Ice Titan drop, which is why he gave nothing. Ah, well. Since the boss didn't drop any tech the second time, I decided to call it a day and continued progressing towards more important bosses as opposed to farming this guy for hours. So to do that, I went around the map killing and taming Godzillas as well as any other things that I ran into. I can jump to watch this. As I was wandering the map, I ran into Destroyer, the mini-boss I was talking about earlier. Now, as I could have easily demolished him with Thug, I wanted to make it a fair fight, so I brought the whole army to take him out. Upon defeating this mighty beast, I got rewarded with nothing. After defeating him, I began preparing for the second endgame boss, Kaiju Prime. The issue with crafting this guy is that you need 25 evolved kaiju cells. Now for one evolved kaiju cell, you need 5 enhanced kaiju cells, so in total you need about 800 elements to craft it. Which isn't even the bad part. The bad part is that crafting one such cell takes like 50 seconds total. Thankfully there was an ARK potion to speed up this process by like 3 times, which was a literal lifesaver, but Jesus fucking Christ. While crafting, I was also looking for more Godzillas to tame as well as a Shimo, as I'm pretty damn sure that these two bosses will be tough as heck. Nice, that's fucking cool, nice. After tracking the Shimo, I tried giving him the crystal again, but to no avail, and since there wasn't really any guide to follow on how to tame this guy, I decided that the best course of action would be to force feed the crystal and then force tame him. Yeah, boring, but don't tell me you don't want to see what this guy can do. Right off the bat, crazy damage. Secondly, and he also has permanent Frostwalker and a huge health bar, so surely a good addition to my arsenal. With the Shimo in my rooster and Godzilla's breeding, I made a crafting skill potion as well as the speed crafting RR potion and made the rest of the kaiju cells because it's about time we kill this bad boy. With all cells in my possession, there was just one more thing missing, and that was Kaiju. In order to craft his summon, I was lacking a few Godzilla fins, so I spent like an hour just harassing Godzillas with Dark for them. Now, one problem. Crafting the spawner requires an unreal amount of inventory weight, and I was also lacking crystal. One sec. On the way back home, I noticed a lot of Godzilla spawn, so I decided to retweak their spawn locations, which is also why I have this little effect here. Anyways, to craft the spawner, I just used a whip to collect a lot of weight forcefully and then easily made the spawner. With the spawner crafted, I made my way to the wasteland and called in the man, the myth, the legend, Kaiju. Oh my fuck. Don't tell me that's how he spawns in, dude. Holy shit. Okay, is it tameable? Yes. Taming him was very straightforward and easier than Kiryu actually, but what does this legend do? Well, pretty much nothing except tank a lot of damage, which will still come in crazy clutch for the bosses. In terms of flying, he's really bad, but does have some pretty cool looking lighting effects, which reminds me of Nameless King. But now, with Kaiju in my possession, I felt confident enough to fight Kaiju Prime. So I made his spawner and called in all the kaijus I had at my disposal to beat this Titan.
Man. Fuck you, dude.
You. That's it. That's all I get for almost dying. After slaying the legend on this Titan, I was, well, still poor and also robbed of most of my kaijus as he dropped nothing of value. But hey, at least I'm one boss closer to Gaia. Back home, I immediately hopped on my Gigamoth to farm a bunch of narcotics because I'm out of kaijus and I need to regear quickly to take out the final boss. As I was looking for more Godzillas, I found a survivor that got flung away from the Titan ordeal. Well, that's one less Godzilla I have to tame, which is pretty cool.
Whoa.
After acquiring a sizable army for the boss, the only thing left to do was craft 100 evolved cells. Yeah, that all comes down to like 3500 element, not to mention the almost half an hour to craft all these cells. But yeah. After obtaining them, all that was lacking were some more dead cells, but luckily those are pretty easy to get. And with everything in my possession, there was nothing stopping me from crafting its spawner. Lastly, I waited for the Godzillas to grow, took the whole army with me, and with everything being said and done, it's time to finish this. To increase the immersivity, I thought that removing all dinos from the map will be a cool decision, so I did exactly that, and once loaded back in, it was time to summon in everyone for one final fight. Over 40 hours of gameplay, multiple maps, multiple deaths, multiple bosses defeated, multiple kaijus tamed and lost, they all led to this one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, 21 kaijus of all sorts, including the strong Shaimo as well as the legendary Ghidorah, have all gathered here to take down the final and most powerful kaiju in this mod pack, Gaia, the Mother of Titans.
I am so dead. That's a bad sign.
The damage we're inflicting on Gaia was fantastic, and by keeping at this pace it was 100% going to be a victory. What I failed to consider was its one-shot ability.
What the fuck?
Well, is this it? Have I come so far just to die at the end? Fuck no. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I don't really have a choice. The final kaiju that has the power to turn this fight around is the level 1000 Dug. Why do I say final? Because Gaia even managed to bring Ghidorah to its feet. An 11 million health kaiju.
Okay, man. Nah, Doug just do your thing, man. Fuck her up.
After respawning again, I settled with watching the fight from afar as Doug effortlessly killed Gaia and as a result avenged all the fallen kaijus in this fight. Beating Gaia rewarded me with a bunch of chibis that allegedly give you special effects when fully leveled. Those chibis being a smaller forest titan, Katan himself, a miniature titania, which is really cute by the way, and a smaller Wootlong. Is it a shame that I had to resort to Doug to finish the challenge? Yeah. Is it done? Double yeah. I'd say that for a blind playthrough of Kaiju ARK I did pretty well. Let me know if you have any tips for me and I may or may not just bring this back at some point with a twist next time.